So very good evening and a warm welcome to you all. We at Wiki Coaching Council are happy to present our 5th episode of Coach Dialogue series, a conversational series where we invite coaches and practicing as well as aspiring to learn, to share, and to grow. In some of our previous episodes, we focused a lot on talking about how do we grow a coaching business and spoke about customer acquisition, marketing, personal branding. We even looked at how do we look at financial well-being of coaches. So there have been some interesting conversations that have happened on this particular platform. But today we are actually going to go deep into a very important subject, something that affects all of us. And it's so vast that, we really tried our best to, ensure that we can learn maximum from it. So how do we actually build and sustain coaching partnerships? Given that as a coach, there are so many partnerships that we need to look into, whether it's that of a client, a coachee, a sponsor, the organization that you're partnering to or pitching to, and of course, our coaching fraternity. Each of these, sectors, if you look at, have a very important role to play on how we shape our coaching practice. So today, I have 3 expert panelists with me who are accomplished coaches, business owners, as well as HR heads, to talk about this subject and take us through, some of the key insights and learnings on how we can build this into our practice. So with that, let me start the introductions of our panelists today. So first up, Alina, thank you for being here today. Alina is a transformative coach and she's a coach mentor who has mentored thousands of coaches today, who are practicing and has been really instrumental in building the coaching practice here in India. She's a director of Edify Consultants, which is a people solutions company, and a global member of Coach Masters Academy. Welcome, Alina. It's amazing to have you here, and I'm looking forward to having this chat with you.
Same here, really looking forward. Hi to all of you lovely ladies. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Great. Moving on to Ashmita Kohli. Ashmita is a seasoned L&D professional and an executive coach. She is also the president of our UP State Coaching Council and the founder of Vistar Management Solutions. Thank you, Ashmita, for bringing your knowledge and expertise into this session too. And we really look forward to know some of the amazing work that you're doing at the grassroots level.
Thank you so much, Karuna. It's a pleasure to be here amongst all the awesome ladies. And I'm also looking forward to learning and engaging with each one and offering whatever experience that we have gained in the area of coaching. Thank you.
Wonderful. And finally, Richa Chatterjee, who's a seasoned HR practitioner and an executive coach. She's currently the CHRO for IIFL Finance Limited, and she's held various leadership positions across Indian MNCs as well as global companies spanning diverse sectors. She's an expert in strategic business partnering, talent and performance management, change management, and culture building. Thank you, Richa, for being here today, and I'm sure we're going to have some good conversations.
Thank you so much, Karuna, and thank you so much, Vicky, for providing this platform. And I'm really looking forward to the conversation ahead.
Great. And I am your moderator for the session. I'm Karuna Raghuvanshi. I have Shraddha, who's actually going to be engaging with you for whatever questions or queries or comments you have on the chat. Varsha is going to be managing anything that we need to sort out from a tech perspective. So we have an army here to ensure that, all of us, have a good learning session here today. Great. So with that, let me start, the discussion, which is building and sustaining coaching partnerships. And as I was talking, about partnerships for a coach, there are 4 key partnerships that we are going to look at today. Let's start with the first one and the one that we are closest to, which is a client partnership, that between a coach and a coachee. So Alina, I'll start with you. And you've been training so many students, and coaching practitioners over these years. It's been more than a decade, I'm sure. In your experience, how do you actually build a coaching partnership with a new client? What are some of the steps that you would take to ensure, it's there for the long term?
Yeah, Thank you. Thank you. Very good question. And quite a difficult one with respect to clients who you didn't know from before, coaches who you didn't know from Adam, are put in front of you either by their own volition, that is, they have themselves volunteered to be coached, or HR has put them, and therefore there is a shroud of doubt around who are you, why are you here, and what are you going to do. And when you start a relationship like that, it takes a lot of effort on the part of the coach. So, the competencies of trust and safety, which used to be called trust and intimacy earlier, are at its best. And the best way to do it, and as coaches, we believe it's not just about doing something, but being a certain way. And for me, being there to say that I'm here only for you. And that comes across in the way I reach out to them, to greet them, to talk to them. In every stage, creating a space where there is comfort to share. A lot of self-disclosure. I use humor and laughter. I've been told that that's something that comes naturally to me. So I use humor and laughter to create a lot of lightness in the relationship. And throughout the engagement, starting with the discovery session, as a coach, I think one of the advice that I would give all other coaches is to find every opportunity to tell them that I am not here to judge you. I make mistakes too. I want to eat the cake and eat it too. Most of the time when I am in an indecisive situation, I want somebody else to come and decide for me. And that's natural. That's what happens to all of us. So it's okay. I'm not judging. Let's move ahead from here. And that, when it comes out in almost every way in which you're speaking, especially when they talk of personal issues, when they talk of issues where their bosses are coming up in the conversation, and I deal a lot with leaders. I make it a point to let them know that this is confidential, and if this gets asked to me, this will not go out. And I think those are the few things which help to build that space. Having said that, a coach needs to be a little patient. It takes about 2 to 3 sessions for them to really drop guard and start accepting you as who you are. Till then, the coach needs to keep trying. That's my bit.
Great. So, Alina, 3 very important things that you mentioned, that you practice. One is, of course, bringing lightness into the conversation has helped you. And forming that trust very early on in the relationship by clearly stating that I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to actually support you, I think are key things that, make a coachee very comfortable, specifically when the relationship is very new. And it sets the tone going forward. So thank you for sharing your personal insights into this. Richa, let me bring you in here. And you've been coaching for many years now. What are some of the good practices to retain clients or coachees? Because there are times when you find that the coachee feels that he or she has learned whatever they wanted to, or because they have been put into that situation, they feel they can't do more than what they are currently doing. Sometimes it's a clear scenario of being unresponsive, right? So how can you actually in your conversation through the various steps that you build, how do you retain clients like these?
Yeah, I think while most coaches, start off by building new client relationships, and I've been on that journey. I'm still on that journey, so still learning on that. I think once you build that, the point is to keep it going and how to keep them coming back, right? So my own experience has been what keeps them going is very different from what brings them to the first conversation. What gets a coachee or a client to the first conversation is, like Alina mentioned, right? Either HR has put them saying, we need to do some coaching intervention here, and here are the 15 leaders that we signed up for, and let's go ahead and do that. So they've been put there for whatever reason, whether it comes from them or it comes from the ecosystem that they're existing in, that there is a need or a desire for change. And that's why the first conversation or first set of conversations will happen. My experience has been, and this is something I picked up during my coach training days, was what keeps them coming back is what happens in the session with you and then after that session, because the magic of coaching actually transpires after the session is over, when you go back in your car, or you're taking a shower in the morning and thinking, oh, why did my coach ask me this? And some of those questions just stay with you, right? So the value that the coachee derives from each of the successive conversations is what really keeps them coming back, I think. Again, my experience has been, you'll always have these tough, unexpected situations, right? Where the coachee is coming back without doing what he or she signed up to do. I've had situations where, bang in the middle of a coaching conversation, I've been asked, you tell me, you're the coach. So, that happens to me all the time. Like, you're the coach, so you need to tell me what I need to do here, right? It's just so much easier if you tell me what to do. And, I think at that point in time, to not fall out of coach position is a practiced art and a learning journey for most coaches. It is for me, for sure. I think also being able to listen very deeply to what is the real need versus the stated need. Sure. Am I here because somebody pushed me to attend this session with you as a coach? Or am I really finding value from each of the conversations that I'm having with the coach? So one thing that I definitely do is, at the end of every session, I definitely do a check-in with the coachee or the client as to what is it that you're walking away with. What is the value that you have derived from today's half an hour or 40-minute conversation that we have had? Because that is not value that I have created for the person. That is the value that the space and the container that I have created, and the person himself or herself has created for themselves. So because the ownership there is much higher, what I walk away from that conversation with is a lot more fulfilling, and I want to keep going back. So that's just something that I use on a regular basis. One other quick trick is, just make sure that your flight path is established. When I say that, I mean that your agreement, what you agree on as end deliverable or end outcome at the first session may be very different from where it may land at the fourth session versus the eighth session. But overarching theme should not be changing. So suddenly, as you go deeper with the person and you start to unravel layer after layer, you realize that there is a lot more. So it's good to just check in on what all are we trying to address in our conversations, because some of those priorities also change for the client, and then you have to make sure that it's aligning with what the ecosystem has asked for as well, right? So, I mean, those are just some tips and tricks I have used to sort of figure my way around that. Hope that answers the question, Karuna.
Sure. So check-ins, is definitely a way to understand what the coachee is, taking away, and therefore you can build on, the next session from there. And then, of course, while we all, know and have a coaching agreement, but when you come into a conversation or relationship with the coachee, the coaching agreement, while is in paper, but what you communicate and what you receive, that becomes more sacred and that becomes more important, right? So, it might have happened in your coaching tenure where the person is just, stopped coming or dropped from the coaching, engagement. In such a scenario, what would be your first, few steps to ensure that, as a coach, you are making that responsible, action?
Richa, you want to take that?
Sure, I can take that, and it's an often repeated scenario, at least in some of the cases I have seen. So here's the thing, what's in my control as a coach is how I show up as a coach, even outside the session. What's not in my control is how the client or the coachee will show up, whether he or she will show up at all or not, right? But what's in my control is the space I can create in the session and also outside the session. So, I mean, honestly, there isn't a one size fits all approach. Every person who comes for a conversation is different. The need is different. But how I have tried to tackle that is, how I show up as a coach is, I have a little bit of a process. I will not let the person fall off the radar for me. So I make sure that there are nudges, that there are encouragements, just to start taking ownership of what he or she signed up for in the session, right? I don't fall out of touch with the person. I keep that connect going, even if it's a WhatsApp message. Just a nudge or a thought that I felt like sharing, which was pertinent to something that came up for us in the session, so that the person knows that he or she is in my thoughts, somewhere that accountability in the subconscious is maintained, that the coach is still messaging me, right, on this, that just, not that it works every time, but at least that accountability piece still comes into the subconscious. So that's something I think that works more often than not. But happy to hear from others on how you would tackle something like that.
Yeah. May I?
Sure, go ahead.
So I haven't had an experience where the person has not come back or has fallen off the engagement, but I can tell you what can be done, or I can imagine what can be done. One is self-reflection as to why is it that the sessions that I was having, was I not able to align with the style, because everyone has a different learning style. Sometimes the coach is overly reflective and philosophical, and the client goes talk logical, let's get things done, and so the client doesn't, the pacing is not matching. And I think coaching presence is about realizing that my pacing may not be matching, my maturities may not be matching. Not to say anybody's more or less mature, but the way we look at life, philosophies of life may not be matching. What to expect out of coaching may not be matching. So your coaching presence should actually help you with that sense. And if we don't have a sense of that, then I think coaching is one very, very mature relationship. So if an adult doesn't want somebody to be talking to him and feels interfered, then I think we should respect that. It's good to be able to get it out from them saying, looks like it's not working, and you kind of want to close it there, then at least let me meet or maybe have a chat with you to close it, because I would like to say something to you, wish you all the best, and close it there. But otherwise, there's no force in that. That's the way I would ideally suggest to my students if there is ever a situation.
Great. I think those are amazing insights, right from what Richa talked about. The simple nudges, keeping in touch, helps you kind of engage your coach in the long term. And also what Alina mentioned about coach and coachee is a very adult and mature relationship. So one is, of course, while you self-reflect as a coach, you have to allow space and room for the other person also to choose what path they wish to take. So great. And I think these are the small nuggets that we often do not see in textbooks, or in general training sessions. Conversations like these with experienced coaches really bring out some of these tips that you can actually adopt as well and learn from. So thank you for bringing that out. I move to the next section where we will explore partnerships with sponsors. As a coach, we have to ensure that everybody who's involved in that coaching agreement is aligned, is involved rightly, so that there is success at the end of the day. So let me start with you, Richa, on this one. Since you are also on the other side, as the HR head of your organization, and as a coach, practicing coach also, you would have seen both sides. But how important is it really to build partnership with the sponsor?
So I think that question cuts right to the heart of the matter. I think when it comes to the sponsor relationship, a lot of us underestimate the impact and the influence that one equation has on the overall coaching journey, as well as the entire contract. So the way I see it is, coaching isn't a magic pill. It's not as if you'll do 2 sessions and suddenly you'll come out one transformed human being. It takes diligence. It takes staying the course. It takes a lot of resilience to even self-reflect and come up with stuff that truly matters. And more often than not, all executive coaching also turns into life coaching, because there will be a lot of fear, there will be a lot of insecurities, there will be a lot of other stuff which you never signed up for, which comes up. And because at the end of the day, the other person is a human being, you're a human being. It's two adult human beings interacting with each other in a very mature conversation. To me, I think, for me, the analogy that comes up when I think of a sponsor is that here I am as a coach. My client is a sailboat trying to get from one end to another. But the ecosystem, the water, the lake in which that boat is floating is important to take into construct as a construct when I am creating that relationship and also nurturing and sustaining that. If I don't do that, eventually everybody's there to see an end outcome. No one's there for only the conversation. I mean, you can go to anybody and have a conversation, but unless you're able to, bring about some change, that's why they come, right? And that's why even an organization would sign up. And that change it's not a magic pill, like I said.
If I were to look back on the experience, I think we have to put the context that coaching is still a very nascent stage in our country. And as far as the organizations are concerned, they're still kind of dabbling with, will it work, will it not work? While training, mentoring, or consulting is a mature industry. People have used it, they've seen the benefit of it. But when you bring up or pop up the word of coaching, they're still tentative about it. And one of the insights that I had after making a lot of mistakes, let me tell you, was that, and maybe us coaches are doing, is that we are explaining what coaches is to institutions. I remember going up to an institution, prepared with one big, presentation about what coaching is and what coaching is not, and how is it different from mentoring. And I had all these faces looking at me, so what? So then I realized, and the insight was that maybe what we are doing is that we are selling them coaching. Instead, we should be selling them the results.
Yeah.
So I think that's the big insight that I have, that, I'm not here to tell you about what coaching is and what's the best definition for it, but I have to come to a table with you where we both dialogue, if you're an institution, about what are your needs. And out of these needs, if you can chisel them down through a continuous dialogue, what are those needs which can be met best through coaching as a tool? And I think when we come down to that, which brings me to 3 C's, which I have picked up as insights from my experience. And one of it is continuous dialogue communication, which is very important. Do not feel that your results that they are looking at is going to come out of one discussion. It is going to take you many sessions to come out to a simple, straightforward, what are you looking at and what is it that coaching can meet up. And in one of our deliverables from the Wiki Council, when we were spearheading the Ignite project, the ICF Foundations project for one of the education institutions, it took us about a month to arrive at that crystal clear, what were the stakeholders looking at. That's the one number. The next is, very, very important aspect that, we need to understand who are the stakeholders in the process. There is a leader who's at the back end. There is an executive leader who's in front ending the entire conversation. And there are those set of people who are the stakeholders, who are the people who are going to be the recipients of the process of coaching. So all these 3 have to be met on one-on-one to understand what their needs are, because the organization is looking at what I think Richa also spoke about, is looking at the practical side of coaching. They're looking at goals being met. They're looking at, concrete, measurables that can be there. What's my return on investment? What am I going to get at the end of the day? And on the other hand, when you meet the stakeholders, or the clients, or the coachees that they identify, they are on the face of it looking at meeting those goals and your support and helping them do that. But as you're going through the process, you identify what they need is a deep transformational coaching, which actually will show the result at the end of the day. And Richa, you were so right that, it's not going to happen in a couple of sessions. That there's this magic bulb which will light up and the whole world will change. So, Alina, borrowing the word from you, patience is the key, even in partnerships with institutions. And you have to put this intent right from the very beginning. Are you willing to walk up the entire path? We can definitely create a distinct impact for you. We can meet all these goals for you, but you have to trust the process because it's a very powerful tool and you have to be on the way. And the other thing that we realized was having an internal champion is very important. Somebody who's kind of, batting for you, somebody who's open, flexible, transparent, willing to trust you. And the best is if you can have the leader, one of the leaders, be your coachee as well. Experience the coaching because the proof of the pudding is in the eating. You cannot explain coaching unless somebody's experienced it. So our attempt in the institutional partnerships has been to definitely have the leader as a coachee in the process, to have a continuous dialogue with them to arrive at the simple, what is the end result, what is the measurable you're looking at. We have not focused on number of sessions because that's futile. That's the process part of it. We focus on results. If this is a result, this is the time period, let's look at how many sessions will take us there. And constant checking in between about where are we heading, and if in a few sessions the coaches want the deep diving, let's go through that, the whole process. Let's forget about the results for now. Let's sort out what's coming in the way. So one thing that I want to leave everyone with is that if you were to brainstorm at the very beginning with all the key stakeholders around results that you desire, the reality, where are we today, and the roadblocks, the 3 R's. It's so important to focus on all these 3, bring them on the table, have an alignment, and then build up the transparency and the openness along the way. And I think that's what my take on this is. Thank you.
Wow. I'm still sort of taking and absorbing everything that you've shared, Ashmita, because there are just so many, nuggets there for us to really pick up. But yes, because of recency effect, I will reiterate the 3 R's that you spoke of because that, stuck with me. So, brainstorming on the results, the reality, and then the roadblocks. And if we are able to galvanize our key stakeholders, including the sponsor, to come together on each of these 3, then it's a relatively easier path towards transformation for that particular coaching.
And may I add, if you allow me, something, just taking permission from Richa to expand the analogy that you had about the sailboat. I think when we bring in a partner, an institution, we need to also discuss with them about the values which are very important for them. Because when you are going to coach their people, they are going to surface along the way. And you do not want those compromised. So those values have to be put up. And I would say in the sailboat, the North Star is going to be that lighthouse, the values. So bring that up, and it is going to be the lighthouse for the stakeholders, whether they are clients, whether they are leaders, whether they are HR heads. Everybody has to look towards the lighthouse. So bring up those values of us. I mean, in our case, we can talk about the council, the Wiki's council, and the values of the institution that you're partnering with. Bring them on the table, align on them first before you even go on to the results, reality, and roadblocks. That's about all I have to say.
Great. Thanks, Ashmita, for bringing that up. And let me, go to you, Richa. We, lost you briefly, but Ashmita took over and she very beautifully, crafted this entire, context around why it's important to, align with sponsors and various other stakeholders in the organization. As a sponsor yourself, I want to ask this question, for any coaching intervention. for any coaching intervention that you commission, what would be your expectation in terms of these alignment conversations? How frequently would you like to connect with the coach, and in what way? One-on-one, or would you like to actually, sit with the coachee as well? Some thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I think, first of all, thanks, Ashmita, for stepping in. Technology wasn't kind for that one instant during the webinar, but now I'm back. And to your question, Karuna, I think that's a difficult one to answer because I wear both hats, and I'm pretty sure that's the exact reason why you posed it to me. But let me try and answer that to the best extent possible. See, as a coach, I understand the dilemma, the ethical dilemma of having a sponsor or, an executive leader, whoever may be on that other side, who's sort of holding the entire piece together for the organization, sitting in on conversation. So that's not something that I would either encourage or even consider as an option, first of all. But that's the coach in me talking. On the other side, as an HR leader, what comes up is eventually we are there for outcomes. And if I were to add, Ashmita mentioned 3 R's, I would call the 4th R as, for lack of a better word, reporting. And that reporting need not happen by sitting in on conversations, but at some point, my stakeholder management, when I'm talking up to a sponsor, or in my case, if I'm talking to the executive leader, there has to be some progress update on how things are progressing because this is as an organization, I am buying coaching to address a need that the organization today has and is not being able to fulfill it internally, which is why I'm going outside, right? And for like any other project, there needs to be a tracking mechanism to just understand how we are doing on this and whether we are going to hit, the milestone after milestone that we have set out to achieve. Because this is always part of a longer journey, either a change management or a culture transformation. Those will be, key themes into which a coaching conversation would be woven in. So to answer your question, I think some sort of a tracking mechanism is important because that's the only way for everybody in the ecosystem to get a sense of progress being made. How frequent that would be would again depend on the culture and perhaps the value alignment, which Ashmita again mentioned, that if that value alignment is there, it could be once in a month. But if that value alignment is not there, or at least in the beginning phase when you're building your credibility and you're building that space, after which I think it streamlines itself, it's a lot more frequent, and then it sort of adopts a more paced out approach. So that's how I would approach it.
Sure. Thanks, Richa. Alina, you wanted to add something to it.
I'm so tempted to add a little bit from the practitioner's point of view, because Richa gave me a beautiful picture of what is happening at the other end. So yeah, one of the questions that we practitioners, external guys are asked is the ROI of coaching, like the ROI of training. And the ROIs are something that are so difficult. The ROI of coaching doesn't come up on a balance sheet, doesn't come up on a financial statement. And that's sometimes the good part and sometimes not so good part of it. And therefore the sponsor, HR here, or sometimes the CEO himself, or anybody who's a very senior stakeholder, while in spirit they understand that this is not a measurable one, and yet they would like to have a measure. And therefore for people like us, I have one guiding principle, and my guiding principle is not ROI, it's ROE, return on expectation. Okay, and so what are the expectations that you can have in this engagement? You can have an expectation that the feedback that was given to this coachee has been acted on. You can have an expectation that he will be a lot more motivated once he is in these self-reflective conversations with the coach, and therefore go on and motivate the others. You can expect that his team skills and his team are growing together. Return on happiness, or all those which are otherwise not something that comes on the balance sheet, but are so important for a leader whose thinking is actually going to decide the growth of the organization. And that's the piece that I work on. And thankfully, the sponsors that I have been meeting lately are pretty well informed. They understand. We start with offering that let's do something to demystify coaching for you guys. That is the coaching, the coachees, if there's a large group of coachees, their managers, and maybe some members of HR, all of you who have some idea but not a clear idea. So it would be good to just do something called as Demystify Coaching. And that's where, like Ashmita was saying, that's where instead of just talking about how is it different from coaching, mentoring, etc., that's where we talk about what's the change. So these are change conversations that if is known and accepted, then there is a lot of openness to the whole thing. From a midpoint check-in point of view, I do one midpoint check-in. If it's a 6-session engagement, I do it halfway through. I do not allow HR or any stakeholders to butt in more than that. That's my way of working.
Surely. No, but it's wonderful to actually hear both sides, and what is expected vis-a-vis, what you can actually, offer and commit to as a coach. So thank you, Richa, Ashmita and Alina, for really bringing out, both sides. And of course, while we are talking about scenarios in a corporate, setup, but some of these principles will definitely extend to wherever you're taking the coaching engagements to. And coming to the various other sectors, Ashmita, you in the previous sections briefly spoke about, how did you craft the proposition for coaching, and what do you really stress upon when it comes to, getting the buy-in from the sponsor. You have worked, extensively with NGOs, in your, coaching experience as well. Now, that's a very new sector, whether it's education or NGOs. In corporates, we still recognize coaching as a, legitimate development practice, and therefore, for right now it's focused on seniors, but I do see coaching in demand really growing across different levels in an organization. But to just extend that and look at other sectors, in your experience, Ashmita, how do we actually build partnerships there? So if we have to take a proposition of coaching, along with an NGO for young girls or young students, they could be, maybe young professionals who are wanting to break out into the industry. How do you build a proposition there? And what has been your experience there?
Well, that's a wonderful question, and, allows me to kind of share an experience that we had with the UN's initiative of Girl Up. And we did a project with them, and one of the first things that we need to remember is that whether it's an NGO, whether it's an institution, everybody is focused on, through coaching, what can I gain? What's in it for me? NGO setups are different because they are not looking at profits. They are, spearheading a particular goal that they have. In the case of UN's Girl Up, it's about gender equality. That's what they're spreading the word around. And it's very important to have a dialogue with them as to what is it that they really want to achieve at the end of the day. So when we were, exploring an opportunity with them that came by, we were supposed to expand the perspective of the young women who were entering the social development area, and how could we through coaching expand their thinking process. And that's where we said that this is a piece that coaching can definitely help you achieve. So because it's about, at the end of the day, making them think on solutions, because NGOs today are starved of solutions. So when you spoke about that, we can help your young girls in the social development sector, become more solution focused, more future focused. Coaching can really step in like a complete fit in over there. So that's where you need to kind of focus on expand to help them become solution focused in the NGOs, expand their thought processes and their perspectives. There, I think it will be a big match for them as far as the coaching tool is concerned. As far as training is concerned, mentoring is concerned, consulting is concerned, they have plenty of it coming their way. But nobody is teaching them how to become solution focused, how to expand their mindsets, how do you expand your perspectives. Nobody is focusing on building this capability, which is deep-seated, in their own self-belief about how are they looking at their own NGO from a small lens or a bigger lens in terms of impact that they can create. So with UN's Girl Up and the other initiatives that we have, we've helped them to expand their perspective and their lens, that your audience is not this narrow lane, it's the vast world. So that's what impacted for them.
Wow. And I can just think of, the potential that coaching actually has and how it can extend, different sectors, different objectives and goals. And again, Ashmita, I'm going to tie, what you mentioned as a proposition to something that Alina brought up a while back, which is where instead of ROI, you were actually working on an ROE, which is the expectations, the goal.
Beautiful. That's really beautiful, yeah.
And, really, of course, push them to really also expand their thinking, right? That's great. Lovely to, know that that's the, potential all of us, have, where we can take the coaching practice to some of the newer areas as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I think they're all, NGOs especially today, are starved of funds. They are looking for solutions and they're looking for thinking fresh. And that's where coaching steps in. With their powerful questions, you can light up the areas of their mind which they're not even focusing on. That's what my offering is.
And I'm sure, Ashmita, you didn't do this alone. So I know there's an army of coaches who work with you to make this happen.
And allow me a moment there. In fact, tomorrow is our first anniversary of the UP Council. And when we look back now, we've offered in this year, we've done amazing projects back to back. And we've offered around 300 hours of pro bono coaching. We have brilliant coaches who bring in diverse set of skills onto the platform, and I am truly blessed to be with these awesome women who are naming every project, who are structuring it, who are looking at results, who are looking at documentation, which Richa was talking about. The 3 projects that we've had, right from the Ignite project to Atman Manthan of the Girl Up, to Prerna of the Hero Foundation that we are doing a project with them right now. I think each one of them, we kind of own them as babies, So it's really exciting working for them. Thank you for allowing me this time. And I'm seeking a big applause for the UP Council at the moment. I mean, brilliant work these guys are doing.
We are inspired. We are truly inspired, Ashmita. And that's great work. And I think we wanted to know a little deeper into the kind of work that you're doing. So thank you for, sharing that with us. But since we are talking about a larger community of coaches and how they are making a difference and an impact in society, in business and various other fields, Alina, I'll bring this question to you. Since you have led and have been part of many coaching communities, and more people keep getting added, right? Every year, more coaches keep getting added into the community. So that's good news for us. Our community is growing. So how do we leverage, these coaching communities to really make an impact?
Yeah. In fact, one thing that goes with the C of coaching is the collaboration piece. When I was the president of ICF Mumbai chapter, my agenda was to see to it that the corporate sector, who was always the biggest client, but instead of viewing them as competition, when you start looking at them as more than a number of coaches, more will go and educate the world around on what is coaching. You will reach a stage where you don't have to start by saying, okay, first let me explain to you what is coaching. We would have gone past that milestone or that roadblock to now say, okay, I'm sure you know what is coaching. So tell me now, within this, what more you'd like to take away, or how would you like me to help you? And that will happen only when every one of us, there are more coaches, we are working together. Also the fact that Rome was not built in a day. One coach really is not able to, like Ashmita is saying, that when you go whole hog, then it works on cumulative effect. So I think collaborating as coaches is a very big one, very big one. Change initiatives are not easy.
Alina, so we are having a bit of
It takes time, patience, resilience. Sorry?
There was just some bit of a break in the previous.
Was there? Okay. I said these change initiatives work on cumulative effect, and so if we put in synergies together, then you hold on to each other. If one feels down, the other is there to say it's okay to take some time. Don't worry. Let's go past it. Let's look at the positive. And I think collaborate together to spread and evangelize coaching is what we're looking at.
Absolutely. So collaboration is key, as Alina mentioned, and I think all of us, while we operate as independent coaches, there is power in coming together and taking coaching forward in various sectors, because that's when we will start. One is learning together and really creating an impact. So, thank you for sharing, Alina, your experience. And now we've actually explored, 4 different partnerships, from the time that we started this conversation. We've looked at partnership building with a client, with a sponsor, with organizations or sectors, that are looking for a solution like coaching, and of course, our coaching community. So keeping all these 4 partnerships in mind, I think we'll have to look at specific actions that each one of us can take to ensure, we are able to build, our coaching practice as a thriving one. So with that, let me open the floor for questions. We are left with 6 minutes on the clock. So if there are any questions from the participants, please share, and we'd love for the panelists to share their thoughts onto it. Shraddha, do we have any question that you came across? Because I know the chat box was buzzing. There were just...
Yes, it's been interactive, but no, there hasn't been any specific question as such. No.
So I think if anybody has a question right now, they want to speak up, we'd be happy to address it.
Hi Ashmita, I'm Archana here. I think I have read about your case study which you people have done, UP Council have done with the Parivartan School, if I'm right.
You're
so
absolutely
if the
right.
time permit, would you like to share something about that?
Sure, if we, about Parivartan and our journey, which ran almost about 6 to 7 months, I could speak for hours on it, but I know the time constraint here. So I am going to just speak up that one of the highlights of working with Parivartan was the fact that it was our first, from Wiki's Council, it was their first experience of coaching. So the openness, transparency, and the amazing, trustworthiness of the leader, the executive leader, worked wonders in this case. Having a structured process in terms of a review process at the end of the day, having project managers assigned from Wiki's Council as well as from Parivartan's side helped us to stay on course. So structured approach, transparency, lots of continuous dialogue, and bringing all the stakeholders under one roof before we began, which is the coachees, which were handpicked. Coachees were selected, 15 of them, and a rigorous thinking process which went into even matching the coach and the coachee, so that there is a fitment. Not one person of the coachee came back in 6 months to say, I do not align with this coach. So this is the way that the whole thinking, which went into even aligning the coaches to the coachees. A beautiful process wherein the Wiki's coaches who were involved in the process met up every fortnight or a month to even discuss specific issues without names and confidentiality as to what were the various, coaching processes we were following and could we learn from each other. So that's where the power of community is, learning and then, applying it to the other, coaching scenarios that we had. If I look back now, I think even ICF Foundation came back to felicitate us, the entire council, on the successful completion and the deep impact that we created. Because when we, in person closed this entire 6 months project, which ran into 10 sessions each for each of the coachees, the head of this institution said that she's doing more of strategic work now, and the transactional operational efficiency has gone up at least by about 10 to 20%. So that's the kind of focus that we had. And if we had privilege, we could have shared some pictures about the end closure that we did in person with all these coaches. The hugs and the cheers would have spoken it all as to the kind of love that we got in return to what we offered to them.
Wonderful. I think that calls Ashmita for a separate session where we would really like to go deep into
Yes.
the entire coaching engagement that you had.
It's not doing justice right now, I know, but I just spoke
very
about
quick, but yeah, it's definitely leaving a very warm feeling in our hearts that there was amazing work done by the community of coaches. So great, thank you for sharing that, Ashmita.
And I must felicitate my leader, who's also a part of our council, Sangeeta Sharma, who's the principal of Parivartan School. This is an applause from my side for her. I think amazing individual who made this all happen. Thank you so much. Yeah.
There you have a very strong internal champion, and that's what we were discussing. How do we need to have that to ensure our coaching engagements really turn out for the best? So great. With that, I will just come to one question, and we'll do a quick round robin very quickly. Almost consider it as a rapid fire, but one habit that you would advise coaches to take up to build any of these strong partnerships. One habit in their daily practice. Anybody can start.
I'll go first. I think the best way to work with change conversations is to go on change projects yourself, right? And you can be your best client. You're the best bakra that you can get to coach with the most difficult questions. So, I have a theme, or I have a topic or something that inspires me, and my personal change projects are great learning opportunities for me. And if as coaches we start doing that all the time, you can actually tell people and say, I know sometimes we slip up so badly, we can really dislike ourselves for doing things that we tried so hard not to do, and it's okay. It happens to all of us. And that's a great way to be a champion of change. For me, my definition of coaching decides how I coach. And so I keep refining my own definition of coaching all the time. And my advice would be, you all could get on to something similar like that. Thank you.
For personal projects. All right, great. Yes, Ashmita.
I think two things. One, that I have this word written right in front of my desk where I coach from, and it's written wait. WAIT, which is why am I talking? which always constantly tells me that I shouldn't be talking. It's my coachee who needs to be talking. And the second thing that I do is that I always remind myself that you coach who you are, and Alina, we need to keep evolving ourselves. So if I'm better tomorrow, I'm going to be coaching better the next day. Always start my session with a 2-3 minute kind of a breathing exercise, a bit of meditation, because if you can just let the person physically just put everything which is on the panel open, like in a laptop, you have so many panels open. So you have to tell this person, switch off everything, and are we focused on what we are? Changes the trajectory of what the session is going to be completely by just one habit.
Super. Richa, how about you?
Yes, thanks. Just to add into that, I think 2 habits, if I may. One is coach yourself. I think that's the toughest conversation you can have, and the toughest client you can have. So I've tried that, and it works wonders if you can actually stay authentic and honest with yourself. So that's one. The other piece very quickly is just review, readjust, realign the process after every coaching conversation, just to make sure that you are on track, and also to learn more about your own coaching style, because that also changes as you change as a person and as you change as a coach. So just that self-reflection helps you bring that more of yourself to those conversations more effectively. So that's something I think worth exploring.
Wow. So we coach who we are, and therefore as coaches we need to constantly evolve. Is one of my takeaways amongst the many things that we have learned. So thank you all, Alina, Richa, Ashmita, for sharing such amazing and deep insights. Sometimes those simple nuggets to, the broad thoughts, just change the direction and the way you look at your coaching practice. So I really hope that all our participants who've joined today and those who are going to, watch this, session later on have gained and carried a lot of learnings. We will be, of course, putting up, the recorded video on our YouTube channel, the Wiki Coaching Council channel. So if you want to go back and listen to, some of the gems, please do that. You can share it also with, your coach communities so that, they benefit from the same. And of course, we will keep coming up with interesting sessions and events. So please follow us on LinkedIn and we'll stay in touch. Thank you all. Wish you all a wonderful evening ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good evening.